And we're live. All right. Hello. Welcome
Hello?
back. A surprise episode. We finished last week, but we're still here.
We're still here.
Um,
Like nothing.
this is our fourth and final trait vote episode for this campaign because we didn't have time to do it last week.
Don't
And
don't
then
let Will fool you. We're just doing this because we got really addicted to talking on Sundays.
yeah, and then so after we're done with the trait vote, we're gonna talk about other game things probably.
We're gonna
Um,
talk about how Will is blatantly stealing off of copyrighted material.
yeah, something like that.
Names shall not be named, but it definitely doesn't have anything to do with what we've been doing so far.
Yeah. um. So, uh, is it worth recapping last session? Probably not, right?
I got everything I wanted,
Yeah, you got everything you wanted. We finished the campaign.
basically.
um and yeah, we're gonna do a trait vote just to like wrap it up because then while it's still fresh in our minds, I suppose, otherwise if we retired Donati for like 2 years and then came back to her with a new campaign arc or whatever, then we would have forgotten everything that happened. um so this gets it out of the way early. uh Hooray for foresight.
Leave it.
But also, I think there may be questions and other kind of wrap up stuff that we want to cover.
Yep. If you got any personality questions for Donati, like if Donati was stuck inside a building with a bomb threat, what would she do?
um,
Could she defuse the bomb? Probably not.
if there was a locked door in the same room, then she could escape to hell. So anyway, um, actually, there was one thing I wanted to say before we like properly get into the trait vote. I was thinking about like what would Donati's narrative arc be if this were a story?
Right. As in,
Um,
like, what's she doing afterwards, or
well, just like how would this be? Like, how would the events that have transpired this campaign be categorized in like in a literary sense? Um, like if someone were to write down Donati's stories and espouse them, then like what would they be?
like what genre would they be?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
that's a good question. It's got the makings of epic fantasy, but at the
yeah.
same time, I don't think we've played up to epic fantasy. You know what I mean? Especially because
Yeah.
we've been running Burning Wheels, so it's not quite as fantastical as we could have made it.
Potentially not. Um,
There's no potentially. This is true.
yeah, but I think like people always exaggerate things, right? So it's like what actually happened was maybe a lot more mundane than how it gets retold.
I mean, sure, but for fantasy books, we kind of take it as a given that these are real things.
Do we though?
I mean, I like for example, you're never going to go into Discworld, right? Reading a Discworld novel and thinking like, oh, well, he never actually spoke to that god. Like he probably, I don't know, received a vision or something, or was like humanizing the things, anthropomorphizing the things that happened to him, and getting these things. Everything like no, like we take it as a given that it is a fact that not only do gods speak to mortals, but they are very actively involved or something. You know what I mean? That is the
Yeah,
world that they live in.
that's definitely one way to interpret it.
Well, then, because like this is. Are you telling me you go into every single fantasy book and
No,
just fucking look at it from the perspective of modern day
no, no,
what?
no, 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 no,
Anthropologists?
no.
Oh, well, we don't actually know what this symbol meant. It's probably some sort of ritual, which is just anthropologists speak for, well, we don't know what the fuck they did. We don't know how they were doing that.
I'm just saying that you could view literature from that perspective,
You
which
could, and it
can,
would be intensely boring.
well, it would like it could potentially change like how you view certain sequences of events. Like, is what's being said on the paper what literally happened, or is it a retelling? And I mean, there's always a disconnect anyway between like the author and the audience because of just how language works. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that
It's
is
silliness. Don't
I
get me
think that
wrong,
is
but
the boringest fucking idea I have ever heard in my life. I'm gonna go read Harry Potter and be like, this is actually just some grandpa reading a story out to his kid, instead of imagining that somewhere in an alternate universe there is a world where magic functions in this particular manner, not only exists but is a common part of everyday life for a certain population.
yeah.
But fucking boring as shit, my dude.
Anyway,
Let me just
I'm half
read
trolling you.
Motherland by Ted Williams or whatever the fuck his name is, right? And think about like, oh, how this giant system of virtual reality doesn't actually exist in this particular world. It's just someone exaggerating what happened. Okay, I guess that just takes away like 100% of the story. I guess none of this ever happened. No one's in a coma. No one is, physically trapped within their system of their own devising. Terrible. You should be ashamed. I'm ashamed of you. Can't be your friend.
Well, it's something that I mentioned because if we assume that Donati's story is one that would want to be retold by people in universe, like if Donati becomes successful off of these endeavors, then she will probably make it into the like Nellon's um Hall of Fame or whatever, right? And if the campaign world ever gets to the point where 100 years passes or more or however long, we may eventually see these like stories getting twisted or
I
like
mean, I'm not saying that
reinterpreted
they're
or
not
whatever.
going to get
Like,
twisted, but coming at it from the perspective of like, did Donati really do all of
oh,
this?
no,
We
no, no, no,
literally
that
just
that
fucking
wasn't.
played it. What?
Well,
She's in a coma. She
no,
doesn't actually know what's going on. This is one of
that
those
wasn't
dream
my point.
things.
That wasn't what I was suggesting. I was suggesting that like because we're playing Burning Wheel and everything's a bit like more gritty and realistic, that what we played through is what happened, is what really happened. And then like how would that get retold and which bits would get exaggerated and so on to like skip to not skip but to like to make it sound more epic um in like a from a from a second-hand perspective or whatever.
Okay, here's my counterpoint to that. I know that you said that we are playing Burning Wheel. I would actually contest that. I would say that we're not. I would say that we are playing Exalted because let me explain myself. I'm not sure if I can explain myself very well. All right, but the rule set that we are using is Burning Wheel. This is true, and everything that we have done has been achieved through Burning Wheel mechanics, which means that everything that we have done is completely plausible, logical, and totally acceptable within Burning Wheel. However, in the world that we are in currently is not Burning Wheel. It is Exalted, which means that should this become a legend or whatnot, it wouldn't go Burning Wheel mechanics legend because it's already happened Burning Wheel style. That is the maximum it can go. I would say that it would go exalted type legend because we've already established that this is the normality, right?
Mm.
But exalted doesn't take normality. Exalted explodes reality, right?
Mm.
Like the legend of Donati wouldn't be like, oh well, that totally isn't possible because we know it is possible because we played it Burning Wheel style. The
Yeah.
grittier version, the grittier, dampened version of this, saying that magic isn't as powerful as Exalted normally is, has already told us this is totally plausible and logical. This can happen.
Yeah.
But Exalted wise, it would be expanded, saying that not only did she, fucking defeat that one uh undead lunar and grab his sword, she punched him in the face and knocked his head clean off and the whole ice like exploded.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
The way you're arguing it makes me feel that you're arguing the opposite way, that she has done incredible things, but later on people are going to be like, well, that definitely never happened
No,
that
no, no,
way.
no. I was arguing exactly the same thing, that you've done like a bunch of things, like realistic things, and that because because the world is the way it is, it's gonna get blown out of proportion. We're gonna. I'm not saying this isn't like a postmodernist perspective, right? Like this is like a yeah, Donati. If Donati became a legendary figure, then she would have these like ridiculously insane myths begin to crop up around her.
I can tell you the first thing that would fucking happen.
What?
Her height would change.
Yes. Yeah.
She would be 7 feet tall and gorgeous, beautiful, dark, lustrous hair, right? Fucking, she was like some peasant girl, but everyone knew that she was destined for greater things because she like had the look of the Scarlet Empress herself, right? And
Yeah,
she was like,
it's
she
like
grew up to be 7 feet tall, a buxom, beautiful woman of like statuesque proportions and some shit. And like in real life, she was like a fucking tiny ass motherfucker with a round face,
yeah, it's like
dark skin, and like charcoal hair.
when when Ghazal set eyes on her in the obsidian mirror, she knew that she was destined for greatness. It's like
Grand Sapphire blew the knot his head clean off and she just regrew it. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
Christ in heaven. Gazed upon the small, yet somehow impossibly larger than life child, and she knew, just like Mary looking upon Jesus' tiny infant body, that she was destined for greatness, and she said upon herself, I will take on this child.
I just opened chat. Yeah, that's perfectly.
Oh, God. I think that's actually the worst indignity, that her height would change just to fit
Yeah, it
this stuff.
probably is.
If Donati, if it's gonna come to that point, right, where it's gonna like, if shit gets out, because Donati's gonna live hopefully for a bit, right?
Hopefully.
Should all go well, she'll live for a bit, maybe like over 100 years old. Who knows? So she might very well live to see the beginnings of these legends, right? So that when she goes to meet someone who she's never spoken to before but has heard of her, it's just like, who are you? And it's like, I'm Nellen Donati. I thought you'd be taller.
Yeah. It's like, oh, please tell us the story of the time that you fought the sun. And Donati's like, well, I have that ambition, but I haven't actually done that yet.
This is because I told Roku I wanted to fight the sun one night when I was drunk, and then he never let it go, and then he said it because he thought it was funny, and I made him sleep on the couch for a week.
Okay, so let's
I thought he was making fun of me. He had to assure me that he was not, and he thought the idea was very adorable. And then I had to make him sleep on the couch for another week because he called me adorable.
Uh,
There was not a
um,
single night that I went to sleep that I didn't hear him chuckling to himself in the other room. You can already envision the type of marriage that I'm giving them. Just endless teasing.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about traits. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to keep taking that conversation. So let's cut it back. So
This is a tragedy.
uh yes, so trait votes happen. Um they need to be a reflection of like what's happened since the last trait vote, which I was saying before the stream was I think before like just after you got back from Lookshy, but I think we didn't record it. So that is lost
I have no
to
clue.
the annals. No, no, it's not even annulled. It's just lost. um, so yeah.
I finally have the calendar, by the way. I like took several different screenshots, spliced them all together, and now I have my own fucking calendar of Donati. At least
Oh,
in the year 766.
yeah. Cool. Um, yeah, so you can like see all the shit that happened this year.
Looking back at that letter from Rokujai, dear Donati, I hope this letter finds you in good health. P.S. There's, after all of this other shit inviting me to Yolanam, there's something I wish to discuss with you in privacy, so please do come. Oh, how things ended up.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that letter. um oh yeah, actually we got like massively off track. But there was something that I was going to say in regards to narrative arcs, which was I think that Donati's like looking back on this whole campaign, I think that Donati's arc has been relatively flat, which is to say that she's had like one big goal and one big belief throughout this whole campaign, and that hasn't changed from beginning to end. And
Yep.
like no matter what has come up to challenge that, no matter what has reared its head to try and make you change your beliefs, you've stuck through it. Um,
I
and like the characters around you, like Donati's supporting cast, have ended up being the ones that change.
It's true. I would say actually it's because I don't believe that Donati had any true conflict.
Hmm.
Not against the first belief with the army. Because she had a lot of conflict about money, getting the funds for it, but she never had any actual conflict about whether or not she should do it
Yeah.
until like the very, very end. And by then she'd been, you know, hungering over this for who knows how many months and years and whatnot. So it was just like she was already well entrenched in this.
Yeah, the one person who may have changed your mind you walked away from.
Yep. If I had
Um,
had something like that in the very, very beginning of the thing, then maybe my thing would have changed and been like,
mm,
fucking Donati has seen that the greater good needs to be done, and
yeah.
fucking try to raise an army to go fight in Thorns or some shit.
Maybe.
that would have that would have been cool. Now I'm thinking.
The yeah, I suppose it's in part because we started this campaign on a bit of a shoestring, just like let's try out this system whilst I hack it in the background.
Yep.
But also
I would say the
like
biggest part is that Denati literally didn't have any conflicting perspectives,
Yeah, perhaps
which
not.
is which is what players kind of do. Like
Yeah, yeah,
in your is it Harborhead
yeah. The
game?
Harborhead Wild Hunt game.
But in the Wild Hunt game, like everyone, all three of them, Arkin, Viper, Eel, they like butt heads with each other constantly.
Mm,
Constantly, constantly. There's always like disagreements, there's arguments, there's changing perspectives. You know, like one of
mm.
the last things that was going to happen was that Arkin wanted to change Viper's mind about something, and we ended up saying stuff about dual wits and whatnot. But like the idea was still there. I want this to change, and I want to make it happen. And
Yeah,
that unfortunately wasn't present in Donati because it was a solo campaign.
yeah. It's an interesting difference.
Yeah,
I don't think that it's necessarily that like one is inherently better than the other. It depends
right,
on what you're going for with the game, I suppose. And we talked at the very beginning about like, well, this is a campaign about Donati's the adventures that lead up to Donati attaining her army.
right. I would
So
say
or working towards the goal to attain an army. Say,
right. I would say that the biggest changes that Donati had were all in the end
yeah,
because there was so much conflict. And there are three particular things that I think changed about her. Um, One, the relationship changed her
yeah,
because she had never before had interest in anything, anyone, right? Like Captain Hotpot was there in the beginning as a joke,
yes, yes,
and then he like stayed behind in the Imperial City. We never fucking heard from him again.
pretty much, yeah.
Right? I think it was literally because I couldn't even buy him burning
You
wheel
you
stuff.
couldn't afford him as a relationship, and we basically said, oh well, you can circle him up later if we ever need it, if he's ever going to become important. And I
If
guess
he
he just never became important
Yeah,
again.
he was just like some hotspot character. But like the relationship changed her because suddenly she was aware, right, that there was someone else, right?
Mm.
Second off, um, Ikura. No, not Ikura. Ikona? Ikura?
Icona.
Ikona. Ikona changed her because it opened her eyes to other ways that she could have helped, right? It changed when we were leading up to the stuff with Akona, right? And when she arrived in Juche, and especially when we were leading up to the stuff in Akona, Donati's goal changed from having the army to having the army to protect something dear.
Yeah,
Because primarily the army was just for her own glory. And
yeah,
that changed.
yeah. So even though there wasn't a duel of wits there, it still forced you to like reconcile your goals.
Yes. The third, and I think actually the biggest change, um, is Odem. Odem brought light to the fact that Donati's plan was exceedingly self centered.
Hmm.
And she grew aware of the fact that there are other people out there and that this army isn't just her and her family. It is her family, the people who live in Juche, and everyone else who has ever lived here.
Yeah.
It made her open to the idea that there were alliances to be made, that there were friendships to kindle, that there were people to meet, etc., etc., etc. She had to
Mm.
not just explain herself to her family; she had to explain herself to a people that were completely different to herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that the change that came with Donati wasn't necessarily a change in her, but it was a change in what
Her
exactly.
attitude
Yeah, it was more of an attitude change than like an actual
than
mental emotion.
like yeah, her fundamental goal hasn't changed, but the reason why she's doing it maybe has.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah, and I would tend to agree.
Overall, it's a very more. It's a little bit more of a subtle change than something in like say fucking Harry Potter, because that's what's on the
Yeah,
brain.
we saw. I don't know. Yeah, I think like this has been a different arc from anything that we'd done in the like 30 episodes prior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like the first 10 sessions was a lot of weird, or not like the content itself wasn't weird, but a lot of the game was the way that we were playing was like weird because
We're settling
of
in.
we were settling in and the rules and like getting used to the rules and all of that jazz. Um, and like playing we like there were times when we I don't know if I can't remember if I explicitly set it up this way or not, but like the first 10 sessions is like it's like a microcosm of what happened later. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there was some adventure stuff, some like danger, um high octane whatever, with the cave dungeon crawl and um some of the like political um assassinations and what's the word, conspiracy, I guess. And then we saw a much more relaxed political, like noble end of things in Yolinam, with Donati trying to, like, a lot of that for you, aside from the conversations that you had with Rokujai, a lot of that time for you was just trying to catch the attention of nobles
Yeah.
and be, um I guess, be taken seriously, which then we saw happen again much later on, like just recently.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, and then to like finish that thought process, there was, we then went to Lookshy, and that was like a long, drawn out series of dangerous things happen. Um, and then now we've gone to Juche, and there's been a long, drawn out series of political things happening. So it's I think that was accidental. Like I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna take credit for that being like planned from the beginning, but I'm glad that it worked out that way.
Definitely planned this from the beginning.
Mm. um so let's lose a trait first, shall we?
Terrible.
um
I just want to point this out first off. If you
uh-huh.
think about it, the Star Wars movies are a story about one family fucking up the galaxy for like 40 years.
uh yeah, I guess.
Oh god, that's Donati's family. That's fine. Me and my line are just gonna fuck with everything. Every character that I'm gonna make from now on is just gonna be one further down on like the descendancy line. My next character is gonna be Donati's like daughter, and then the next character after that is gonna be like her granddaughter or like her niece or something. You know,
You'll have a whole dynasty of characters to
a
play.
whole dynasty of characters. You're right.
um, that'd be quite interesting. I, I would eventually like to get to the point in this like series of campaigns that we can like that we have enough established characters between the whole player base that like we can swap between locations when like a lot of shit is happening in the world and just change characters and like see what different people are up to at different times.
You're gonna have to make up like rules for abyssals and all that shit too.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. Um,
I can sense your enthusiasm.
all right. So I think Donati should lose the mercenary trait
All right. You know what? I agree. He hasn't done anything really
because
ruthless anymore.
I don't think you've earned Arta for it since pretty much since you got it, and you got it in the first arc in while you're still in the Imperial City
Hmm.
because like this was a trait that you got from a previous trait vote, and I think we gave it to you because you were doing anything for money at the time, basically, which made you a bit of a mercenary. But you've
I'll somebody's hand for this.
yeah, you've since attained ethics or a sense of ethics, and money is much less important to you now. Um, and just in terms of the connotations of the word mercenary as well, it would be wrong to call Denardi a mercenary because she's not anymore. She's a soldier or a commander or whatever.
He was a marshal doomed to failure.
Marshal. Yeah. Um, you're literally not a sword for hire anymore. Um, so yeah, I don't think it's fitting for you to have mercenary as a trait anymore. Would you agree?
Okay. I agree. You're
Cool.
right.
So let's delete that.
Can we replace it? And this is my first suggestion, right? Because I think this pretty much exemplifies everything that Donati has done so far, right? And she has never not been working toward it, right? And that includes in the 3 years total that she has been doing stuff, right? I would like to vote badass as a trait.
Badass.
Yes. I don't know if it exists in the trait list, but
Probably
it
not, but we
should.
can make it up. um,
Especially if Donati is going to be a legend, I think she would gain the badass trait. I mean, you hear the name Nellens Donati, you know, right? Don't worry, guys. The fucking Legion, Nellens Donati is coming. It's like, oh shit!
Ken's saying it should be a colon. A colon for what, Ken?
Whenever I do something that's like appropriately stupid and yet heroic.
um,
I can only do it once a session if I want to like stunt, but I have to do the stunt in a spectacular way.
hmm. I was going to ask about your driven colon, actually, because
Yes.
that's maybe related. Um, that we haven't seen you use it really since you got it.
I didn't know
Um,
I could use I didn't know I
yeah,
could use it.
yeah.
I didn't actually know. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know how to properly use call-ons until, honest to God, like 3 to 4 sessions ago. When you explained to me how to use a call-on, and it's once a session, and then you can re-roll traders and shit. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. That's a shame. But yeah, maybe
I could replace it because, honest to God, Driven requires the command to be used for a lot of things. But like in social situations, Donati doesn't use command.
yeah. So maybe if we were gonna change driven to badass and then change the like skill that it works for, or maybe just not make it a skill at all, like Ken says, like colon for suicidal heroics, um, then that's maybe more yeah. Would you be happy doing that?
Mm,
I think we were quite vague when we gave you the driven colon to
yeah,
begin with. We just sort of said it was about military accomplishment, but the specific belief that you had when we gave you that trait was like, I will get an army for my house. And now that that's done, arguably this should be changed as well. Like either changed or lost, I think.
All right.
Um,
I like replacing it with badass, but I'm not necessarily sure it should be suicidal heroics. Or like idiotic heroics, perhaps.
I mean, it depends. I suppose it depends on what you think of when you think of a badass.
Like a badass is just like you look at them, right, and you know shit's gonna be cool. It's like a mouse on the back of a lion, and you're like, no one's gonna fuck with me. I'm on the back of a lion, my dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you've ever
hmm.
watched Toriko.
No.
Oh, well, that's a shame. You should absolutely watch Toriko. It's ridiculous. Um, but like when you see a bit, like, you know, they're not just capable, they are like professionals almost, not even necessarily in anything particular. You just see them and you're just like, okay, they got it, it's fine.
Hmm. So what scenarios would we see it being used as a colon for? Like
I'm not
your
necessarily sure
last
because Lee is the one calling for it to be a call-on.
yeah, maybe. Like your last ditch arrow
I
in
would say,
a
I mean, if anything, it's like, it's, to me, badass would be more of a social trait when I'm trying to convince someone that I can either do something or to give me something.
okay. Hmm.
If I
So
was to say something
it's like
like,
a confidence thing more than
yeah, I would like maybe like a reputation or something. Like my reputation is suddenly twice as good or whatever. I don't know, something social, right? But like for if I was trying to say like a call on for suicidal heroics, then I would say the call on would be something more like savior or hero or the chosen one.
I think that's already a trait, but
Is it?
yeah, it shade shift your faith.
Hold on. Oh
Um
shit, you're right. If a player character possesses the faithful trait, he may purchase this trait to make his faith shade gray. 5 points.
which is funny because or it's weird, I guess, because faith naturally takes the same shade as your will in the base game.
Right.
So if you had gray shade will, then you wouldn't even need that trait. Like that trait would literally do nothing. But yeah. I mean, yeah, a call on called suicidal heroics would be perfect, maybe. If you're thinking badass should be more social or like a confidence
I don't know.
thing,
Like, I feel the badass isn't necessarily.
I guess
I don't
here's
know
a
how to
question:
explain it. Yes.
Do you think you would get more use out of badass being a character trait that you could earn fate off of? Do you think you could bring Donati being a badass into play in an interesting way to get fate from it, or would you rather that it have a definitive mechanical effect, like a colon?
Hmm. I think I, honest to God, would get more use out of it just as like a normal trait.
Just a
Because
character trait.
because
Yeah.
like a lot of the shit that Denati does, I would classify as badass.
Yeah.
Um, if it was, for example, like I said, I just think like badass isn't necessarily like,
It doesn't have to be
it's
combat
not a thing
related.
for you. It's the
Yeah.
perception of others
Mm.
to you. You feel me? Oh, that's a good one.
A die
Use
trait
the
allows you
label.
to use your reputation as a fork for intimidation. Huh. Do you have intimidation?
I'm not even sure I completely learned it yet, but it's cool.
What reputations do you have?
Oh fuck me! I'm very far away from learning intimidation. Rest in peace.
um. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. You're 4 tests away. 4 tests away from learning it. Yeah.
Damn things being put up against will.
I don't know. I think. Yeah, I would agree that like I think I would agree that badass is the right word to use. Like whatever we decide this trait does, badass is probably the right word because there's been enough times now when you've either like told your story so far and characters around you've gone, whoa, shit, or um you've
Just
like
done most of
you've
it.
done a new thing in front of some characters, like getting to speak to the gemfolk or whatever, and Odem's been like, man, cool. I really
I
wasn't
didn't think
expecting that.
I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. um so from a character, if it was a character trait from that perspective, I think you maybe would get more use out of it just by just being able to exceed expectations.
Right. I
But
like it
then
having
once it's a trait, it's like
right.
now there's an expectation for you to be a badass, which you may not always
I
be able to do.
I like the idea of it using my reputation and stuff.
Hmm.
I just don't know necessarily how. But like I said, it's other people's perception of you, not necessarily what you need to be doing 100%
Yeah,
of the time.
which to me, honestly, it sounds like it should be a character trait. Um, I mean, reputations can already be added to um more than just circles rolls.
I'm pretty sure they can be forked towards skills anyway, can't they? Or other traits?
Yeah, I mean, fork's the wrong word, but it's like if your reputation is pertinent to the conversation and you're like trying to persuade someone or something, then the reputation should be applicable. I believe, at least.
Look at that, Lucraine.
Um,
Can't go a single fucking day without saying that. Every single fucking week.
um, and I suppose if you have a character trait as well, then you can like it becomes more if we leave it open as being a character trait, and you already have the doomed and defiant martial um, reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or no, we were just going to call it the doomed martial, weren't we? That
The doomed marshal, master of the defiant legion.
that if the fact that you're the doomed marshal matters in a conversation or in any situation for that matter, then you should be able to add your reputation to that because you're literally the person who holds that reputation, right?
That
Um,
one's not a lie. I did that.
yeah. Um, and if you needed extra justification, then being a badass, having the badass trait or whatever would just let you kind of say, don't forget I'm a badass. This should count. Whereas I think if we tried to tie it to a very specific scenario with a very specific mechanical effect, we maybe wouldn't see as much fun use from it, which is perhaps what also happened with the driven trait.
Right.
Because it's not that Donati wasn't driven, it's just that she never angled to explicitly use her driven trait to help her actually get the goal that she wanted with her driven trait.
There's just not enough times where I would actively command someone to do
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Just she was that actively conflicted, I think, or at least that particular thing conflicted with her like third belief, which is that diplomacy.
yeah. And yelling at people probably isn't the best way.
No, no, it's not.
I mean, it can still get you what you want, but you'd maybe
Yeah,
feel bad about it afterwards.
I would not feel bad about it. Think badass should definitely be a thing.
um, yeah, let's call it a character trait then.
Character trait for now.
Do you want to add it, or shall I?
I'll add it.
All right.
And then like later on, if it becomes that like she's not just reputed to be badass, but like everything she does is like fucking dramatic or some shit, then it could be something like I don't know, chosen hero or
Hmm.
champion of the house or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Something that's like yes, she's not just a badass when people look at her, but like everything that she does is fucking ridiculously great.
yeah,
Okay, so I just add that to character traits.
yeah. And we'll get rid of driven as well, right? Or do you not want to do that now?
Yes.
Or
No, I'm
was
thinking
that
about.
only if changing it?
Oh no, that was me trying to remember how to spell badass. Don't look.
Oh, okay,
Don't touch me.
okay. Um,
You know what I did fucking like? Hold on. Here's a here's a good question. Did we ever use lowborn dynast against me?
um,
Because if we didn't, we should definitely have.
no, because you were never being inconspicuous in a noble or courtly setting. If anything, you were trying to be conspicuous most of the time. However, we explicitly got rid of the negative reputation that you had, so we can get rid of that bit on the wording.
I can definitely say I used Iron Will quite a bit.
Yep.
Are we getting rid of all of that, or just like that one?
I just got rid of the bit about the reputation because you literally
Okay.
don't have that anymore.
Nice.
Um, I've just remembered something as well. We should probably have you and Rokajai buy affiliations with each other's houses.
How do I do that?
That's a resources test.
No!
um,
Why would you do this to me?
I'm sorry.
God, God damn it! I just got rid of the tax too. The worst. Why
It's
would
all
you
right.
do this to me?
Well, so you can We could say that this is also paying for your wedding.
I thought that was just part of the dowry.
No, the dowry gives you a bonus to resources.
Fucking
Well, I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to be able to, if you want a bonus to circles up members of House Sinus, then
yes.
that's what the affiliation would let you do.
What?
Because it would be like, oh, you're Rokujai's husband or wife.
I'm just so statuesque. I don't know what gender. Like, good. Fuck off. So, what are you? I'm a Nolans. Yes, but like, what's like, what are you really? I'm
A
a
demon.
fighter. But what's in your pants? My weapon.
uh, let's see.
I stab them in response.
I was gonna recover some tax on Rokujai as well. Nice.
He has 2 6s. Can you roll that and get more?
I'll double check in a minute. Anyway, so if you wanted to do that, it'll be an OB 5 test.
Fuck! Why?
Because purchasing a 1 die affiliation is an OB 3 resources test, and then because it relates to high, noble, or ecclesiastic. Wow, I do not know how to say that.
You don't know how to say it, but I
Ecclesiastical.
definitely don't.
Eccles. Wow, I'm gonna look that up. Or excessively wealthy. It's +2 ob. Ecclesiastical. Okay, so relating to the church. Okay, yeah. So it's +2 ob because they're rich. But once you have it, leveling it up later gives you +2 dice. It's up to you. I mean, it may not matter. I would say that the failure condition is that you just don't get it. Like, you won't be taxed, but you won't get the affiliation because
Well, I still have 6 fate left.
tax won't matter because we're about to like leave this campaign. So the failure condition needs to be that you just don't get it.
All right, I do technically still have Arthur to spend, so I suppose I will do it.
I mean, or you can save the Arthur for next campaign.
Well,
or whenever we come back to Donati.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know exactly.
It could be like 7 years in the future. We're not even using Burning Wheel anymore. We're using a new, even darker set, more gritty. Right,
We just
and
start
Arthur
laughing.
will mean nothing. Next campaign. Listen, Lee. I have to hope that Donati's coming back. All right, no modifiers.
Rokujai has to make this test as well, so
I'll put in 1 point of Arthur. I'll take this persona. I'll put it in my resources.
okay. Yeah, so margin of success replenishes additional dice, so he doesn't even need to roll those fate. He recovers all his tax, finally. Oh, he's finally recovered his losses from Luxshy.
Oh, fuck me. Hold on.
2 6s.
I got 2 6s. I will roll those 2 6s.
Oh, you should have roll 1 more dice from Rikista as well, your fund.
Oh, I didn't realize that was still active.
I'd say this is the last roll it could be active for.
I'm normal. Nope.
Nope. Okay. So you got 2 6s.
Hold on. Where's my open dice? Wait, let me get down here. Push that down to 5 fate. Put that up to 5 fate.
We have no idea what the next campaign will be yet, Lee.
Yeah. I did not make it.
Okay.
Got 2 worth for that. The scientists don't give a shit.
They just, yeah. All right, let's see if Rokajai can.
They're more excited about like having someone in the council, but they're like, I don't care what the fuck this is. I mean, okay, it depends, Lee. There's a few options. Mostly, I would say there's a few options, most because of what's happening in the Wild Hunt game. But it might not necessarily be that my next person is her like heir or something like that, because that might be too far ahead in the future. It might be if we're keeping close to the timeline, it might be a different type of Exalt, or just like a really powerful mortal. I don't know.
Yeah.
I die immediately. Holy shit.
All right, so Rokajai buys into House Nellens at least.
He's very interesting. So the fucking
They
gossip.
they,
The
they
Nellens
love
are just a
him.
bunch of fucking gossipers.
They love him.
They do. And I can get rid of that Rikista contract.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily any reason why I couldn't still have that contract going on. But I don't know whether or not you just want it to be over.
Oh, well, I guess you're 2 successes off. So, and it was a difficult test. So, if you want, we could have the Rikista contract just get taxed to nothing, and then you take 1 tax forwards if you want.
I don't want tax. That is the opposite of what I want.
I'd say the reason why your Rikista contract would break anyway, though, is because you're just not going to have the presence that you had before in the Imperial City, and Rikista isn't moving back to Juche anytime soon.
You're right.
Plus, it's a pretty. It's maybe a dick move to like gather up a small mercenary squad of like 25 people and promise them that one day they'll be in a Grand Legion, and then you just leave them in the Imperial City.
I was mostly saying because, like, of course they're going to be given the option to do so. I'm not gonna like if some of them might not necessarily want to be tied down to a house legion.
Yeah, I think in either instance, you would no longer be profiting off of that.
You're probably
right. Like, if they went their own way and maybe carried on working for Rikista, then you're not getting a cut of that anymore.
Right. In which case, I could give them the choice to, like, just be part of Rikista's, like, retinue or something. And that way she wouldn't have to pay markups to me. It would be interesting to kind of see how many people chose to follow me into the army.
Could roll for it. I guess there's 25 people, so let's roll like 2 d10s plus 1 d5 or something.
Roll 2d10 plus 1d5.
Wow, 7 people.
7 people follow me, and the rest are just like,
okay, we're good.
But, legions.
Juche is a long way away. Yeah,
Juche is a long way away, and they got like a steady job with Rikista, which is honest to God what most people are worried about in their lives. They just want a steady job.
Yeah.
But 7 people are like, you know what? It's the fucking. It's probably like the first 4 people who followed me out of House of Bells, right?
Yeah, and then I guess Faye and Jarrow.
Pharaoh, who I can complete my promise to.
Yeah, you can.
Just out of curiosity, does he have anything to say? Perhaps, just like summed up, I suppose. Is he impressed? Maybe.
Yeah, he's impressed. Um,
Yeah, right, motherfucker. Get wrecked.
I mean, he's probably a made man, really, because like he's uh, what's the word? He's like come through this without really doing a lot.
Anything. Nothing at all.
um, and he's secured himself like a pretty nice job straight out of the Spiral Academy, and he's like got a
Come out
hot
of the
girl. He's
Spiral.
got a hot girlfriend, literally.
He didn't come out of the Spiral Academy at all.
Oh yeah, no, the Palace of the Tame Storm, which is even better, right?
Yeah. It makes sense considering my reputation, right?
Yeah,
I just like pick people up off of the ground and lift them up
yeah.
towards greatness. That should be a reputation that the Naughty should have. Oof, oof. That's a good
Lifts
one.
those around to greatness. Well, I suppose on that topic, I was thinking Rokujai has changed a bit in these last few sessions as
Oh,
well.
really? Wait, hold on. Before you mention Rokujai, did you just say that Jero had a hot? Are you telling me that like this is legit, right? That Faye went for this stupid motherfucker. I can't believe this. I am a disappointed mother. Now I know how Gazelle feels. A Rokujai is a lot fucking more useful.
I'm surprised that I was like, ah, that was a miss. Oh well, let's move on. And then it hit you. It was like a boomerang. It like went over your head and then came back around.
Fucking smacked me right in the back of my neck. I die instantly. Snapped my neck. I can't. I can't fucking believe this. There should at least be a roll of seduction, Will.
um. Okay.
Oh my god, are you actually gonna roll seduction? That was
See.
mostly a joke, but I would like to see this happen.
All right. So Faye isn't stupid, by any measure, but her will is only 3. Um,
Yeah,
and Jaro has got the
she's very
seduction
young.
skill. Yeah, I mean they're
Does he
both
actually
young.
have the
It
seduction
may
skill?
not last, but it's going ahead for now. Maybe. Well, we'll see what this role does. He does actually have the seduction skill
Oh
because
my
you can
god.
learn it at the palace.
I don't even want to know for what reasons. Oh, my
Yeah.
poor Faye.
um,
My beautiful daughter.
what's he forking? He would fork some shit. Let's give him 2 dice worth of forks for
Probably
conspicuous and
has like hot
persuasion.
bod or something as a trait.
Mm. He has conspicuous and yeah, persuasion or falsehood or etiquette.
Does he get any bonuses for looking good?
Um,
He's an exalt, right?
yeah, I don't think I ever gave Rokuja any bonuses for looking good, so I'm gonna say no. So his ob is 3, but he might do this. Let's see.
Maybe like the roll doesn't determine whether or not they get together. Maybe the roll determines.
Oh, he has 2
Oh,
6s.
maybe the roll determines whether or not they stay together if their relationship is successful. Also, you're not streaming this, so no one can see it.
Oh right.
Oh
Oops.
fuck me, jeez, this is they just hit it off. They're the best. It's just like they have found one another. He's like, I've never felt this way before. Faye has successfully tamed the beast. Jesus Christ.
um, So yeah, I guess Jiro, he did it. he got the girl too. It's like all happened in the background. There was like you don't we never saw it, but like there was a full, like
They had
Romeo
a
and
whole
Juliet.
romantic subplot
Yeah.
that constituted the filler episodes when I wasn't there.
Yeah. Uh
Jaro discovered that he could have feelings for people.
he became decent.
Well, I don't know about that,
Maybe not, yeah.
but he opened his heart at least, which is the beginning step to maybe becoming decent.
Yeah, maybe.
And then, like, I sent a letter back saying, "Yeah, haha, I did it." Maybe not Korak style, but it's just like I send a like professional sketch of me squatting down with like throwing up a gang sign, right? And at the bottom, it's like, "I did it, bitches." I'll probably just send like a letter back to Jared because he's technically in charge and be like, "The mission was a success. Ask the men who want to come and whatnot. I blah blah blah. Got your position as promised, etc. etc. You are expected in Juche. Blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
Also, you missed my wedding, but whatever.
I don't know, maybe this was before that.
Well, because like in between the excuse me, in between the conclave meeting and the wedding, I think that's like almost 2 months,
Yeah.
right? If we were to put everything together, but I thought it took like 3 to get to Juche.
Yeah, it took like a month and a half to get to Jutsu.
Oh
Yeah.
well, never mind. They could do it.
They could do it at like really short notice, but yeah. It's like here's a letter arrives and it's like, oh, we need to leave in like 3 days if we're gonna make it. um anyway, so Rokujai, I was thinking
Yes.
he has a trait called jaded.
Does he?
Yeah, which I think he
Oh
he
my god!
he is no longer jaded, I
Wait,
think.
you
Like,
have to tell me more about this character development. Jaded, you say? You need to tell me
right?
the details, Will.
No, no, he as in he has this. He already has it. He got it
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
character
yeah. No,
creation.
no, no, I know. But like, surely there is a reason why in the story, and I need to know. I need to know the story of how Rokujai was like a jaded bad boy, and then like slowly his heart like opened itself up like a gently blooming flower to the persuasive sexiness that is Donati's like muscular bod. Every time she like slashed a demon's head open, he was just like, "Oh God, I'm swooning. Oh, dragons above, help me."
um well, the trait comes from the prostitute life path.
Does it?
Yeah. So I suppose it comes from him
Thank you, Lee.
having to put up
Fuck
with
yes.
shit in whorehouses. I'm waiting for the Exalted Otome game.
I'm fucking ready to just seduce everyone. Donati and Rokujai have to be part of the seductible characters, but if you seduce one, you have to seduce the other, or you don't get They come as a pair, but the game doesn't tell you that, right? Unless like it drops hints, right? Like because you know that they are married and that they're fairly devoted to each other and whatnot. But it's only through character bits in the conversation that you unlock sort of like this secret route, right? Where you can seduce Donati, but also have to seduce Rogujai and vice versa. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And they're like, I've chosen my husband slash wife. I'm sorry. It's just like Dream Daddy, except it doesn't give you the option to seduce Mary, which I fucking would have because Mary needed me. You know, technically, I do have the programs necessary for this.
What, to mod Dream Daddy?
Not to like make the actual game. Like the
Oh, right.
Kelu actually has made dating sim games before.
Huh. I imagine they're quite
They're
like.
fairly
I
simple.
imagine the code is pretty easy because it's just like a
Yeah,
text-based
you can do it
adventure.
in like what's it called, like Renpy or something like that, and it can be fairly simple. I think I also gave Kelu like a program for his birthday that was like something
Huh.
RPG Maker VX or something like that. But
Yeah.
it does stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe one day. Anyway, so even though it's really useful for him, because the jaded trait reduces surprise and shock hesitation by 3.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Um, I feel like he should maybe lose it, but
Hasn't he like failed every single steel test ever?
yeah, because he's got gray shaded steel, but
How?
it's a G4.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Um, so it's gone up. I think at the beginning of the campaign it was like a G3 or G2 or something. So he's he's he can hold his breakfast in now at least
well.
most of the time.
Okay.
But shock and what is it? Shock and something. What did I just say? Surprise and shock. Yeah, that doesn't cover like gore and horrific demons and shit. So yeah. Um it's meant more for like shocking social revelations and stuff, I suppose.
Let's see.
Um but it's like all of these things, the fact that he is jaded, even though it has a mechanical effect, it means like I was definitely playing him in a certain way to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But he has changed. Yeah, I mean, like you said, his heart has blossomed. Uh, and I was thinking that yeah, he should get rid of the jaded trait and replace it with lesser muse. Like
Whatever you're telling me
you
now.
have become his muse.
That's
um,
adorable. I don't know what that means.
Muse is like an object or a person who inspires you to do artistic things.
Yeah, when under the influence of his muse, the character gains +2 open-ended dice to all inspired skill tests. So mechanically, this is what now? Like, what skill would this affect?
Is it? Do you choose a skill for it, or is it any
I don't know. It just
skill?
says the player must choose an art form and a skill it inspires. But then it says a character gains +2 dice, open-ended dice, under the influence of his muse to all inspired skill tests. So I don't know if that's multiple skills, multiple tests of one skill, or blah blah blah.
No, I think that means like pick a skill, and
Mm-hmm.
when you're yeah, the inspired skill is the one that you've chosen.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a better, arguably better version of the same trait called Greater Muse, which does the same thing, but it's gray shaded instead of +2 dice. Um,
Technically, it's not gray shaded. It's the dependent skill shade shifts one step higher,
oh, okay, right, yeah,
so it could be even
could be white shaded.
white.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
That's good.
um, So yeah, I'm thinking like you're his muse,
Right.
and the skill that that inspires. Um, what do we think? Like,
Not sure. Like for
it's tempting
sure.
to lean for seduction or something, but it could also be like dance or calligraphy.
Well, I mean, for sure, Donati is a very physical person. So, like, if she was a muse for anything, it would be something involving strength or whatnot. But that's not necessarily what she's inspiring. She's inspiring whatever Rokujai thinks of her,
Yeah.
which could be strength related, but it could also just as well be something that's like, I don't know, will related or like not persuasion, but like
I think dance. Like, he tried his hand at poetry,
then
and it didn't. It fell kind of flat.
I blame
So,
you.
but,
Do not
but
blame him, the poor man.
um, but like, you and he have had many fun times dancing now.
Yeah.
Um, and like maybe he sees that as like what you're responding to best. Um, and so you inspire him to become like an even better dancer.
Beautiful. Which is great because like he you can literally only get more hotter through dance.
Exactly.
Like sculpts the body, adds
Yeah.
gracefulness to your step.
All right. Would you agree with that? All of that I've proposed, or is there something else you think Rokujai maybe should take instead?
Lesser reviews is so restrictive that you can only choose one skill. If anything, I
It
would
is a
think that
bit.
like that you know such a like it's such a romantic relationship. I think, or at
Mm,
least if he feels that strongly, I think it would inspire more than one skill. That's just my fucking opinion. Thanks, Luke
yeah.
Crank.
Yeah. I would almost argue it should be like any like all artistic skills, like be it composition or music or poetry or painting or whatever. Like, but I suppose it needs to be restrictive from a quote unquote balance perspective.
Boo.
Um,
Balance is stupid. We're exalts.
yeah. Um,
The only balance we know is the balance of life and death at the edge of our blade.
all right, I'm gonna replace that with less amuse.
I still want to know, like, see, here's the thing. Does he have to lose necessarily the jaded trait?
He doesn't have to. You don't have to lose a trait when this happens,
Because,
but
like, I can see him losing the, like, sort of jaded personality trait, but not doesn't make any sense that he would also somehow be now more susceptible to scares.
mm,
You feel me?
yeah, perhaps not, especially having lived through Lookshy.
So I would
Um,
actually volunteer to replace that with something like hardened.
yes, yeah. So like replace Jaded with Hardened, and then give him less amuse as a separate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Or also seen it all.
Yeah. Which
Well, maybe
one?
hardened is like for labor, I think, but there should be something else, right?
A lot of the hesitation reducing traits are like evil, or not evil, but kind of have a malicious connotation to them, like
Well, I mean, we could just
cold-blooded
fucking make
and
a new one. We could just
yeah,
call it.
we could do. In fact, didn't we do that for you? Doesn't Donati have a hesitation reducing trait that we made up?
Iron Will? No, it's not Iron Will. I mean, it was part of my charms, I think.
No, we got it. We got it like straight after Look Shy, I remember, but I can't remember what we called it.
Is it the Tempered or something?
Yeah, tempered.
Reduce hesitation for pain and surprise by 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it could be something like that.
Mm.
Tempered or something, or we could just call it hardened version 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could call it something dramatic like a sword through flame. Can't see me, but I'm like shaking my fist.
Or yeah, if we keep the mechanical effect, so reduce hesitation for surprise and shock. Call it what's a good word? Like undaunting or something? Undaunted?
Undaunted sounds kind of cool.
Not intimidated by difficulty or danger or disappointment.
Nice. Or something like
Wow, who
spine of
gets
steel.
intimidated by disappointment? Or dauntless? Unshrinking.
Dauntless sounds more cooler.
I don't think he's gallant. Not yet.
Sure, mayhaps.
Lion-hearted.
Ooh, that's a good one. It sounds like Princey too.
Yeah, it does a bit. I like that.
That one should be it. I like that one. That's my vote.
All right, so lion-hearted and lesser muse penalty.
I still think you need to give me like all the fucking deets of how exactly he became to be jaded and what exactly he is necessarily jaded about. And like how he views relationships and shit. Like, you just gotta fucking write me a fic, Will. Speak
You
to
can
me a
write
fic.
your own damn fics.
No, you're the one who came up with his character.
I think
This is your responsibility. You have to take responsibility for what you've done. Which is get me invested in this fucking NPC.
yeah. I suppose he was jaded because like yeah, the trait came from being a prostitute or courtesan or whatever, which
I have an
I
idea.
suppose like that industry is what's the word?
I have an idea.
Hmm?
What if it didn't just necessarily come from like him being a prostitute? What if it also was a side effect of his job, hearing all the dark and dirty secrets of the
Yeah.
people that
Yeah,
come
that would
to
be
him,
it.
right? Hearing the lies and the betrayal and all that jazz and whatnot, and the darker side of humanity
Yeah, like
that comes with the secrets.
all of that gets like precipitated to him through his position in Haven, and like hearing all of that. Um, in addition, I suppose, yeah, to yeah, no, I think maybe yeah, that's probably more likely. That's probably better because Um, I think he enjoyed his work uh, as a prostitute. Like I mean, he's a man who enjoys sex and is pretty like open about um like sexual confidence and whatever, and so like
He likes his body and the things it can do. He also likes
yeah,
other people's bodies and the things they can do.
yeah. So I think like the physical work involved in being a prostitute probably isn't what made him jaded. Maybe it is for other people, but uh whereas yeah, I think the secondary aspect of his job as like a secret broker, um learning just how um what's the word, disheveled or um corrupt the whole dynasty seems to be. Like
Right.
that's probably it's like he's heard it all, like nothing can shock him anymore. It's like he's not, if there's some, and that's probably why he was so like not bothered about losing his first fiance, um as well, because like it's like, well, I should have expected this, right? Of course, some random like assassination conspiracy is what caused this whole thing to break down. Like
Right. So it wasn't necessarily that he was tired of the prostitution game. It was just that he was tired of being in the same place, hearing the same flaws and secrets of humanity.
mm. And then I suppose from that perspective, like Donati represents something different. Donati
It's
seems unflinching in her like dedication to her goals, whereas everybody else seems like eager to compromise.
right. I think it's interesting now that we can contextualize not just their relationship, but kind of like all of their meetings so far, starting from their
Yeah,
very first one, right?
yeah,
And he called them in and explained that this happened or whatnot, or I honest to God, I'm gonna have to rewatch that because I don't remember exactly how it started, but the that one moment where Donati was asking too many questions and he's
yeah.
like giving her a look, right? And then I end up with more money because it's hush money, but Donati
Yeah.
doesn't like get it at that point. She's just like, oh, it's a fucking tip. Nice.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's
like
like,
it's
ah,
business as
another
usual for
person.
him. Yeah.
It's like another person willing to use secrets against me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I'd
then
forgotten about that interaction.
I have never forgotten. I have always remembered it
Well,
because it's
like
so
as in
funny.
not that I forgot that it happened at all, but just that like now that you've said it, of course I remember, but like I hadn't thought of that until now.
I don't even know how he would go from that to then coming to invite her on whatever. Like how would he come to that conclusion? Like there's got to be like other mercenary groups, right?
Well, it was because you had been involved in the catching of the man who had been responsible for summoning the demon in his house.
Right.
And so if he was gonna get anybody else to come with him to look shy, he'd have to like explain that bit first.
Right.
And then that's somebody else who knows about all this shit that happened. So I think his initial reasoning for asking you rather than anybody else was just like convenience.
Right. Do you think he kept his ear to the ground in the weeks after that first meeting, right? Waiting to hear
Yeah,
rumors
to
abound
see if
and
Donati actually kept her word after he bribed her.
yeah, realize was fucking right.
Of course, you were in like Page Upstairs or whatever, but he knew that
Yeah.
as well. So I
And
guess in the weeks after you came back to the Imperial City, yeah,
then it gets even more interesting because afterwards, the next real meeting that they had where they could talk was in that like small boat when they were having like dinner and shit,
yeah.
hashing out the details for what he wanted done and whatnot. And then
Mm.
he like tried to seduce her, and she didn't even fucking blink an eye.
Yeah, which I think was him seeing, I suppose, testing you in the sense that he was like, what what's this woman's limits?
Right.
Where does she draw the lines? um
Because I think he wanted to. What did he want to convince me of? Because he wanted to convince me of something, but I feel like I mix up what his request was and what Rikisto's request was. Like he
um
wanted me to skip out on contracts, but I
I
don't remember
yeah,
what contract it would be that I would skip out on for him.
I remember it was, I think it was because the Duel of Wits was about like the seduction attempt came from during a Duel of Wits, like I think he was inciting you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the conversation at that point had got to be like, what will be suitable payment for all of this? Um,
Oh, I see.
yeah, and he was like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like, I should think that
The company
being
of like
being get
myself,
to
yeah.
getting to hang out with me for a couple of months should be payment enough, right? Like I'm so beautiful, you should like being in my presence is payment enough. Like
Also, probably hinting at something else.
yeah, like wink wink nudge nudge. But you weren't having it.
Nope.
um
Then he was
which
like,
yeah shows an integrity of character which he has come to respect.
yeah, which very nearly could have been lost all at the end. But yeah, I can imagine because then after that there's Look Shy, right?
mm,
And several things happened in Look Shy beyond because he was also present when uh during the stuff with the Kura. Not like
yeah,
present on the face and stuff like that, but present there when she brought her to the tavern and was guarding her and taking
yeah,
care
he
of
was
her
he
and
was
whatnot.
aware, tangentially involved, let's say.
Yeah. And then all the stuff with like basically like protecting him and whatnot and protecting his like what was it, niece?
Yes. What was her name?
Anna?
Aina, yeah, that's his one of his nieces.
Fucking that spider thing trying to like come in through the window and
Yeah.
I just like jump up and try to stab it in the back. Then the thing with the pirate captain,
Yeah.
right? And then the obviously the thing with Grey Sapphire, and
Mm.
then how I didn't actually leave him when he fucking jumped down, right? And foolishly, from like one story high, managed to not only twist his ankle but fail the steel roll and pass the fuck out.
I think he broke his ankle, not just
Whatever.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, he's pretty grateful that you didn't leave him in a city full of undead
Yeah.
zombies with a broken ankle.
Yep.
um, but didn't he then helped you like bribe the captain of that smuggling boat, right? So probably
Yes.
without him, you may have been stuck in Luxor yourself as well.
Right. But I meant more in like what his growing opinions must have been.
Yeah, it's like I guess this girl doesn't fuck around, right?
And then the thing with Gloam, and then back to the Imperial City, and then
and then you
everything.
and then you paid for damages in his house.
Yeah, which was the right thing to do. I can't just like
Yeah.
fucking blow up somebody's house and not pay for them. I
um
kind of like, yeah, I need like this to be an actual entire fic, and it's never going to be
you
because
know what,
you
sorry.
won't write it, and I don't know Rokujai's thoughts, and it
Oh, you want
kills
like a
me on the
story.
inside.
You want a story like purely
I
told
want a
from his
slow
perspective,
burn fiction, my dude.
like exclusively from his perspective.
Yes. And then like all of this happened. It was everything was hectic, like 60 miles an hour, and then it just suddenly fucking halted, and then nothing because when they went back to the Imperial City, they split ways, and then they didn't talk for like 2 weeks because there was downtime.
Yeah.
And I want to know everything, right? I want to know how Rokujai felt like going from 0 to 60, right? It was everything that happened, and then slam back to 0, right? And then he's just there, back in this basically temple of hedonism with his familiar people and his familiar house and familiar employees and the same old shit that's coming through every day, and he's like, what did he think? Did he miss what happened? The adventure? Did he miss the feeling
I
of
think I think he did. Like that's like he jumped at the opportunity to come with you, practically. So he must that is like undoubtedly like part of the reason. It's like, oh, Donati's going on another adventure. I'm gonna try and go with her this again because like fun shit happens even if I almost die.
this has to be part of the
Jitche
great
Jitche
curse for the
sounds a lot
dragon
safer
blooded.
than Lookshy suddenly. So
I would say that a fucking reckless wanderlust, dangerlust even, I think is probably part of the great curse for dragon blood.
maybe.
That's why they all fucking die and
It's
have so
yeah,
many children.
it's not just diluted blood, it's that they like actively like end up getting themselves
They're like
killed.
lemmings. They just go for the nearest fucking cliff.
Maybe, yeah.
That'd be kind of funny.
That would.
And then they had like that stretch of like a month and a half where it was just
Just traveling.
camp AU,
Yeah.
just getting there, and they just hung out for a month. And he got to see her, I guess, like not when she's not fucking going at 100 miles an hour, killing shit all the time.
Yeah.
If this was a fic, there would absolutely be like parts where it's like the awkward meetup, right? Like when someone is coming out of the shower or something like that. Because like
Mm.
I said in the very first session, like not the very first, but in some of the first sessions, like 3 fucking years ago, Donati does and still does sleep naked.
Yes. Except when she sleeps in her armor.
Except when she sleeps in her armor when she's outside and she doesn't know what's
Yeah.
what. Right? She absolutely sleeps in her armor.
But you had a bath with Rokujai like in the first session as well, I'm pretty sure. I'm
In the
pretty
wedding?
sure Rokujai was there. Or was he? Maybe it was just someone and maybe it was just the party.
I thought it was just Soman and Yana, and then
I thought
Casca went to bed.
Imo was there.
Imo
Someone
was there.
brought drugs, and I can't remember if it
Imo
was
brought drugs.
Imo or Rokujai.
I'm pretty sure it was Imo who brought drugs. She
Right.
like reached into her titties and pulled out packets of weed.
Hmm.
which, if you have the appropriate size, you can absolutely do.
um, do you want to know how, like, do you want to know some more of like Rokujo's secrets?
I want to know everything about Rokujai's secrets.
Like,
That's not a
I'm curious
question.
if there's like a specific thing.
I don't have any specific questions because I just want to know everything. See, I
Okay.
feel like that's what people don't understand about me. That when I say I want to know everything, I mean I want to know literally the most minute details. That's not a joke,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I
Like
don't think I can go into that much detail, but
I need to know. It's just part of my personality.
there was a thing that I always thought probably would get discovered eventually, but never did because
Oh shit, he has a tail.
Faska left the group and then we ended the campaign, so it never really came
Right.
up. But how do you think Rokujai knew everything about what you guys were doing?
I thought it was because Fasca told him,
Mm.
or at least that's what it was implied when we went to that party of his.
Yeah.
It was implied, and he implied it himself, that it was definitely Fasca's involvement. Like, I'm pretty sure
Yes.
he winked at me at some point when he said Fasca's name, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Fasca definitely told him everything."
Yeah. That's not what happened.
Oh shit! Tell me the deets.
So Faska had a ring that was a gift from Rokujai
Yes.
that he gave to him during, I think it was like after the Blood Ape attack or something.
Right. Okay.
And the ring was like a seal. It is like a signet ring, and it would let Faska get into Haven chain brothels for free or whatever. Like get to stay in
But
taverns for free,
I think
basically.
I remember him mentioning a ring.
Yeah. Well, the secondary use of that ring, or secondary purpose of that ring, was as a scrying device,
No.
which is also why he doesn't know exactly what happened once Faska left the party. Once she went back upstairs, he was like, he couldn't allude to what happened exactly.
Right. Oh shit. That means he also knew everything that happened in the Tiancho forest, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he wouldn't be scrying non-stop, so he would just
It's
like dip in
possible
and
that
out, you
he
know.
might even know the secrets of how a godblood might become a god.
Yeah, quite
Oh
possibly.
fuck!
And then this is sort of I alluded to some of this a bit with like Ghazal's assessment of him.
How so?
Well, like she could tell that he knew more than he was letting on about you
Right.
and events surrounding you. She doesn't know what, but she is assuming that it's like stuff that could ruin your life or reputation or whatever. And so she's like, so that was like part of her reasoning for after you convinced her to trust Rokujai, that was part of her reasoning for like continuing to push for the marriage afterwards.
I see. Oh shit! Doesn't that mean he might even know details about Elwyn?
Um,
Not necessarily, because when we did that, it was pretty late.
yeah, that was
It was very late,
also
actually.
that was the so the exact events involving Elwyn didn't involve, like Fasco wasn't present for that. That was,
Right.
I think. Oh wait, I can't remember. I feel like Brian wasn't there for that session. That like wild goose chase
Because
around the city.
when we went to go talk to him or talk to other people involved, I was tracking where the things were going, but Soman and Iroh were tracking something else. They went to like his house and questioned his whatever or something.
Yeah, I can't remember
I
exactly.
don't know what Vasquez was doing, and it's
I
true he
can't remember
might
what
not have
Fasco
been.
was doing, but I do remember that Fasco wasn't there when Elwyn left the party either. So basically, like,
No, but he was there when me and Soman had that argument after murder.
yeah, yeah.
He didn't hear what our argument was about, but and I don't know how scrying works, whether it's just like vision or sound or something.
It would be like vision and sound, or no, it would probably be mostly sound, maybe a bit of vision, depending on where Fasca's hand may have been positioned at any given time. But so
That one
mostly
I do
sound.
remember it. That one, that particular event, I did remember happened. It was pretty late at night.
Yeah, and Rokujai wouldn't be scrying 24/7. He would just
Right.
like drop in and out. He would just like tune in for a bit and then tune out. So the extent that Rokujai knows is indeterminable, perhaps, but um,
He
he can
definitely knows more than he let
he
on.
he can make more assertions than the average person, uh, than someone else, say.
You sneaky, sly dog. Do you think, and this I guess is a question of character, would he give one such ring like that to Donati now?
There was a point when I thought about giving Donati one. Um, I can't remember what changed my mind, but I think I thought that if it was like if he gave one to Donati and then if it was ever revealed what it really is, then it would be taken as a token of like distrust.
It would.
Um, but maybe it would be something that he.
I mean, it depends because you can do it for a lot of different reasons, especially now
Yeah,
considering how
yeah.
lucky that.
I suppose if this information, if the information about the first ring, the one that Fasca has, um, was ever revealed through just general conversation between Donati and Rokujai, which is potentially likely at this point, then at a later date, Rokujai might suggest saying, like, if you're going out on a mission or something or whatever, he might suggest, hey, do you want one of these rings so that I can keep an eye on you and so that I'll know if anything bad happens to you or whatever. Like as a, but he'd be more honest about
Right. I'm
giving
trying
it
to
to
think of
you.
how exactly Donati would react to learning about the existence of the first ring.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I want to know, first off, when this happens, right? Like, when would he first remember, first off? When would he consider it relevant, if at all, let's say? And when would he have the time? Because after the wedding and their honeymoon, Donati's going off to school for like fucking 4 years and he's doing his
Yeah.
business stuff. So it's like, it might be years in the future that this is brought up, even.
Yeah, it might be, if it was likely to ever come up, I think it would come up after Donati has gone on, has come back from military school and the two are like reminiscing about like 5 or 6 years ago.
Right.
And he's like, and he maybe just says it casually, like, oh, and of course I had that ring. And you're like, what ring?
And then he's like, ah,
Oh, wait, I didn't. Huh.
I didn't tell
Well.
you about the ring. And then like at that point, like would he attempt to like put it off a bit until he could kind of like get his story in line, or think of a better way to say it than just, oh, I had that ring, you know? Or would he just come
For
out and just
spying
say
on
it?
you.
Would he just come out and
um,
say it like right there and then?
I mean, given the conversation that you had before about like you literally said at one point, "I don't care if you're a spy," or something
Okay.
to that effect. Like he would probably just say, I had to keep an eye on my nephew, um, or felt like I had to, and gave him a scrying device.
Denali like squints her eyes and then she thinks. There's like a long minute where she just thinks. And Rokuja is getting honestly a little worried. And then she just goes, everything makes a lot more sense now.
Hmm.
Like, huh.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was like right from the start. That was like I probably don't even have notes left from that session because I
Oh
changed
my.
GM's journal halfway through, but that is an
Do you think that like the
old bit of
things
that is an old plot device
oh
that
my
like just
god.
never.
Do you think that the stuff that he heard through that ring also affected his perception of Donati?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean that probably led to knowing that Donati already had secrets in addition to the ones that he had been involved in prior, like probably led to him or gave him additional justification for bringing you
He
to
felt
Lookshy.
safer because he thought he might be able to like potentially blackmail me if it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no getting around it. Like he was using you at several points.
Yeah,
um, uh, but I think most of the with the exception of, I suppose, the stuff with the ring, um, he was like pretty clear about the agreements. Like, you know, when he brought you to Lookshy, it was, well, I'm paying you to be muscle and to help me take down an enemy and whatever and protect me and shit. Like that was a purely business arrangement. Whereas what happened later got more personal.
I want to know, and I think this is an important question because we discussed a while ago when exactly Rokuja's feelings began to turn, and like there was some discussion about it, but not really. But I think there's two. I think there's two spots where it could have happened where his feelings began to turn, and I think that each one says something a little different, right?
Hmm.
And I want to know whether his feelings turned on the weeks that they were, or week, whatever, of action and adventure that they were in Look Shy, or the month and a half that they were on the road together.
Excuse me. Hmm. I think that the thoughts along those lines began to occur to him, and I think this because they began to occur to me at this time as well. Um, when you and him were in that monastery in Lukshai after the first wave of attacks and recovering.
Any reason why in particular, or
Well, I think in terms of like, well, maybe not romantic at that point, but in terms of like, Donati is a friend, is someone I can trust with my life, which he's probably never had a friend like that before. Um, and
I can see that. In spite of his job, he is very isolated.
yeah, and then and I feel like it had to happen in that order because he got that gift for you whilst you were traveling.
Right.
So that had to be predetermined. Like he had to think ahead to do that, right?
And then I gave him a dagger.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because you gave him the dagger, and so then when he was like, then you were like gonna go to Jitche, and he was like, oh, I'll come with you. That was he probably bought the new knives for you, the gold one and the silver one, while he was still in the Imperial City, and then brought them with him and kept them with him for the whole like first month of that journey, explicitly so that he could give them to you on the anniversary of your first meeting.
That's
Like
gay as shit.
that's yeah, that was definitely like he had to think about doing that a month or so in advance.
Can't believe it. He's one of those fuckers that just sits on a surprise for like a month. God damn it.
Yeah.
So then, does that imply then that feelings began to turn romantic on the month's journey?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean they had to have, right? Because it wouldn't he wouldn't have well, there wouldn't have been any other opportunity after that. He wouldn't have suddenly decided to be romantic with you immediately after killing a panther.
Well, not as because it could have like I said, there was also the I guess there could have been another time, the 2 weeks downtime, because
Hmm.
the being away and then having the
Yeah,
time
like I
to
said before, I think that that led to him wanting, like when he learned that you were leaving again, he that led to him wanting to come with you. And I don't think he at that point he probably didn't know why,
right.
but he just felt like he needed to. And the whole like, oh, I'm going to expand my business and like I don't know, let's get into insurance. That sounds good. Yeah, that's the ticket. Like that is definitely him trying to justify going to Jitche after the fact. um, so it's like, well, I'm on this trip now. I better make this worthwhile for something at least, right? Like, um,
Oh shit! Probably people will probably consider it suspicious if I don't have a reason. I gotta think of one. Business. Yes.
um, and then like after the hunt with the panther, that was like he saw the opportunity and took it, I guess.
Nice.
And maybe it was like, building feelings, but then like the
That one moment, he was like, "Oh shit! Now I understand."
yeah, and he was like, I have to try this. This is like the perfect moment. And if it doesn't work, then we can just part ways and
I can shove
I
my
can
head in
just
the
I can
sand
just
and
leave,
just
like we're in Jitche. This Donati will ostensibly stay here for much longer than I will, and I can like if she is not if she doesn't want to reciprocate these advances, then I'll just go. That's fine. Um, so I think from
I
that perspective, like it was partly,
partly
um,
both.
yeah, like a bit of both, a bit of like spontaneous, oh, this is the perfect moment.
It
Let's
was
just
that
go for
slow
it,
burn fic that
and
everyone loves and hates at the same time.
partly a kind of internalized, like, um, uncertainty of emotions, or like he probably Yeah, probably part of coming with you was just to like trying to help him even understand the way that he felt, right? Like, because he probably didn't understand why he would have enjoyed all of the shit that he went through in Lookshy, like to still be able to look back on that and say, "Oh, that was worthwhile," and I'm glad we did that, even though it almost got both of you killed. And he like needed to be able to reconcile that, needed to be able to like for himself understand why he felt that way, and so wanted to come with you just to see if he could help get some answers to that question. And I suppose he found them.
That's adorable. I can sum up Donati's feelings in two pictures. There it is.
Does that just replace Arlo with Rokuja?
Basically. Now I have to draw it.
That's
I've
great.
only had Rokutai for a day and a half, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.
That's great.
Listen, when Donati wants something, she gets it, and then she's very, very attached to it. And it's
Yeah.
basically happened with every single inanimate object that she's ever had.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it also happened with every other person that she's come in contact with. It happened with Faye. It happened with Rikista. It happened with
Yeah.
Snowman, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she gets things and then she doesn't let go.
Let's just hope it happens with her army, eh?
Don't be rude. And then, like, she gets Rokujai and she's like, this is mine now. And she's like, this is not only mine right now, but it will be for the rest of forever. Which isn't to say that she's not, that she doesn't actually like him. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That she doesn't actually grow to love him. But more like her feelings went from 0 to 60, and then like to 1,000.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
would
think.
I would describe Donati as very spontaneous in everything that she has ever done.
Yeah, I would maybe agree. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like it, because yeah, I mean, you said it yourself. Like Donati really wasn't expecting to find love in Juche, but it found her, I suppose.
Yep. It found her naked in a waterfall.
Exactly. Yeah, which I mean is probably the best place to find love. If you're looking, just try going to some waterfalls. You might find some naked people.
Yeah. It could
You never
be
know.
nymphs or dryads or potentially exalts. You never know.
Yeah.
Or they could just be like river sirens and then just kill you.
Mm.
But in which,
It's
in
it's
like,
love is a dangerous game.
love is a dangerous game, and also like in the seconds that you have before you get like your heart ripped out of your chest while you're hearing their siren song, you would probably feel that you were in love.
Yeah, probably.
So go to some waterfalls. Let's do it.
Anyway, I think we've exhausted things that we can talk about this campaign.
I mean, I don't know about that.
Is there anything else you want to know or
I
ask
want to know a
or
lot of things, but it would probably take 10 billion years.
yeah, probably. And it might be a bit too
I wanna plan their honeymoon, and then I want to plan the adventures of Donati within the House of Bells, And then I want to plan the adventures of Rokujai and what he does while he's not with Donati. And then I also feel like, and stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel personally, right, very strongly, that there is a part of Donati that knows for trouble, right, that
Mhm.
rubs off on Rokujai and everyone else that she comes in contact with for a long extended period of time. So she's
Mm.
off in her House of Bells, basically living the military life again, totally like not stressed or like not necessarily not stressed, but it's expected, right? And it's very normal. Like
Mm.
nothing out of the ordinary happens. Rokujai, on the other hand, is like suddenly in the middle of like 17 different plots, two conspiracies, and like I don't fucking know some others. Like I just feel that Rokujai, having spent time with Donati, like her bad luck, quote unquote, just suddenly fucking like pushes itself onto him, and so he's just like he's trying to do his own business now, and in the meantime there's like 17 different million things that's happening in the background, and I want to write about those events. I want to hear about those events.
I think we're gonna have to save it.
No, but like,
As
do you
as
think that this might be
yeah,
legit?
yeah, probably. um, like yeah, Rokuchai's bound to get into all sorts of trouble.
He
Um,
never got into so much trouble when he was back in Haven in the Imperial City, but ever since Donati,
yeah, no,
and
I
then
think
this
you're
is
right. Like these things rub off, you know.
yeah, and then he has to learn not only how to take care of himself, but like how to fight better and shit. Which doesn't necessarily turn him into a badass. It's just like he just becomes more stable.
Yeah, I mean, he probably he probably would try to muscle up a bit at some point because his power is only a B3, I think. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to Lee. We spent so much time talking about this.
I don't know if there's a lot else to talk about really.
Talk about your
Like,
campaign.
except that I've had fun. Um, it's been a delight to play this game.
I will agree. I've had a lot of fun. Exalted has been it was my first real roleplay. But since then I've had several others. I have experimented on my own time with friends on Open Legend. I've done other stuff. I've done a lot of stuff on D&D, right?
Mm.
Been listening to podcasts and catching up on different rule sets and whatnot. Shadowrun, Vampire the Masquerade, more different other people doing like Burning Wheel stuff. Um, but I would say that as far as games go, having having the privilege to carry out Donati's story has been the best so far.
I'm glad.
I mean, it also helps if you have a pretty great GM, but whatever.
Thank you.
I can't wait to drive Will mad on something else now. Some other character with impossibly stupid goals.
Hmm. Maybe we'll see someone your next character. Um, I don't know.
I don't know. We
What's
haven't
a
decided what
different
the next character would be.
what's a different narrative arc? We'll see you become a villain.
Oh
Ooh,
shit!
yeah.
I could become a villain. It would be very difficult for me because I am not a villainous person by nature.
But if you set your goals up to be like, what
I could
atrocities will you
I could
commit to
be I could be
to
an honorable villain. I could do that. I could be a villain for the sake of
Like
something else.
a reluctant villain. Like
No, not
you.
necessarily a reluctant villain, but a villain with an agenda. Like a villain who believes they are doing the greater good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like examples in fiction, and I can't think of a single fucking example now, and I'm very upset.
Um. Yeah, I don't know either. Anyway, it's a question for whatever our next group ends up being.
Now that
Which,
we have finished with
yeah,
the trait vote,
yes,
which I'm assuming we have because I don't have
yeah.
anything else that I would vote Donati to have, except maybe something like passionate. If he's kind of like
Um,
driven, but mostly just a character trait.
yeah, yeah. If you want passionate as a character trait, go for
Yeah, it'll help me in all sorts of things. Winks.
it. I mean, we already. I just don't think we said it on stream, but I said it to you on Discord at one point. It was like because Rokujay has the endowed trait,
He does.
and we said like we were joking that Donati knows now whether that's a physical description or just a monetary one.
We never described which one it was, just that she knows.
Yeah.
Donati is not a woman who kisses and tells. Of course, she still is only learning the drinking trait, so I mean, it may not be on purpose.
All
Okay.
right.
Hold on.
Shall we take a break? Because yeah, we're done with
Yes.
the trade vote now. I think we're done with talking about this, the remnants of this campaign.
Just wait till I
So
make up a fucking 100,000 word fic about Donati's adventures in the House of
well,
Bells while
yeah.
Rokujai discovers 17 different mysteries, a conspiracy to kill him, and a plot to bring down Anellan's family, and he has to figure out whether or not he's invested enough in this family to actually act against it.
uh, I mean, I will probably continue drawing like little sketches of these two characters
You know, I
now.
mean, if you could just come up with like minor headcanons about like what he does in his off time, that would be majorly helpful.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
All right, go take your break.
But
And
I
then I'll
had
be
some ideas for like little sketch drawings of I don't know, like silly or cute things that like Rokujai and Donati might do.
like hunt more panthers.
Yeah, they just go hunting panthers, or like
Or a scourge on the panther community.
uh I don't know, like little like the sorts of things you see on Tumblr, like I don't know, Rokujai like just
Domesticating them.
writes a new poem or something for Donati, and she's just like completely stone faced.
He's still trying his hand at poetry, and she's like, "Oh, that's great, honey."
But I just remembered I already drew something like that, so I might as well show it. This was
What? And you didn't show me?
no, I showed you before, but I haven't showed the stream. This was the drawing
Oh, right.
of them hugging.
Ah, yes. This was the moment of like emotional breakdown that both of them had.
Yeah.
Lee, come back. I'm sorry. We're done talking.
Well, we're gonna go on break, and
Okay.
then we'll talk about mechanics,
We
I
did
guess.
discover that this hug would be a little bit awkward, but it's fine. All of the
Well,
best hugs are awkward, especially in emotional moments.
yeah. I mean, I realized as soon because the angle on this is a bit weird, and I realized as
It's
soon as I started drawing it that most of this from this angle is just like folded clothes getting like caught up in the hug.
but you like that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like the feeling of hiddenness, of vulnerability.
Yeah, I like it.
they're closed
And
up from the world.
they're both like in their pajamas or dressing gowns and like
I should technically be naked.
well, I would assume you like put some kind of robe on. That you can
You
see
would
like
you
there's a
would
little
think wrong.
there's a little gap like
I see
you
it.
can see. Yeah, so I was like, well, she probably put a robe on but like didn't do it up.
All right, I will accept
Yeah.
this. Oh my god.
All right, break.
I gotta talk to Kalu about making an exalted harem dating sim.
Amazing.
Excuse me.
Okay, I am back. Sorry about the wait.
Welcome. Are you gonna put the Hangout link in the chat?
I can do, yeah. What, for Lee or for?
Oh, I meant for our Discord. Because you said was it like a couple of days ago or something that you were
Yeah. I
hoping
mean,
to
Lee could
talk.
Lee could come on too. Do you want
Lee
to come
could
on,
come
Lee?
on. Would you
If
like
he's
to
still there.
contribute to Will's new world? Totally not Exalted PM.
I'll send it to you on Discord, Lee, if you want to join. I suppose also, do we want to start a different stream or keep this as part of the same trait vote stream?
I don't know. Whichever one.
Uh,
I feel like it's a little relevant,
Probably.
but at the same time, I don't think it would hurt if you want it.
Yeah. I suppose for easier future reference for the future generations, let's split it into 2 streams.
Okay.
All right. So changing stream. Be right back. All right. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back in like probably 5 minutes, as it takes me to set up the new stream. I should have done this before I left, but oh well. Yeah. Since this will also be the closing remarks on the last episode in this Donati campaign playlist, I'll say once again, thank you for playing. It's been a pleasure.
You can't see me, but I'm saluting.
Big boss.
It has been an honor. I'm crying.
Oh no.
I'm not
All right,
actually, but
let's
emotionally
stop
now.
before cries happen. Bye.